Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to another 2022 Project Orchids, the final look. We're up to orchid number 7 now, so after this one, 2 more to go. And they will come quite quickly because I want the project finished basically. Should have finished in November really. Still, it's 9 videos instead of 3. So same format as normal. We'll pull the clips forward from the initial look in March. Update 1 in May, update 2 in July, update 3 in September, and then we'll have a look at the plant as it is today and discuss how it's done over the growing season. Not that I had much of a growing season this year, and what I hope the plant to do in the future. So let's get going. Plant number 7. Okay, so plant number 1, the one with the awkward name, Mexicoa Gisbretiana. But I'll do pop-ups with the names in case I mispronounce them or say them wrong, and you can read them for your flipping self. Right, now this is within the Oncidium Alliance. It's an Oncidium type, and I haven't had it too long, and it's yet to bloom. It's highly likely it's going to bloom off what would be the latest growths. Now the 2 latest growths on here have been on this plant too long to expect them to bloom now. So what we need are more new growths. And it needs some help basically, because most of the roots have come out this side, which is where a couple of the new growths were. So that's to be expected. And as a consequence they're aerial. And they're not hydrating well enough by pouring water over them like how I water my mounts normally. So this plant initially needs some help, and the help it's going to get is live moss, basically over a larger portion of the mount, including over some of these aerial roots. Roots heading on round the back of the mount, they'll have to fend for themselves, but so I intend to put some more live moss around this plant to help hydrate it, because the moss will stay wet longer than aerial roots would, and therefore the plant will get better hydrated. It's not desiccated, but basically the latest growths on this didn't get as big as I expected them to, which is, I would suspect, lack of hydration. It's not going to be lack of food. This isn't going to be a high feeder. So the plan for this is to get some moss on there, live moss, I don't use the sphagnum moss anymore, and help hydrate it better, get some new growths going, and hopefully some blooms on those new growths. Now whether the spikes come out part way through maturity or the growths have to fully mature before the spikes come out, I don't know. But what I do know is the blooms are unusual and well worth waiting for. So that's the plan for this one. Moss, get some new growths, and hopefully get some blooms. Okay, the plans for the Mexicoa were to get some live moss around the roots. Failed miserably, I still haven't done it. And in addition to that, get some new growths going with the hope that the new growths would get to blooming size for the plant. It's a bit of an anomaly from my point of view, because I don't know how mature a plant this actually is, because I know so little about the plant. I mean, it's in the Oncidium Alliance, but you know, that's virtually the end of my knowledge. With a name like Mexicoa, I presume it comes from Mexico. And then where in Mexico? Does it come from some of the drier parts? Does it come from higher up? You know, it could come from all sorts of environments, but it seems to grow reasonably well. And what we've got now is a nice strong new growth coming out here, another one coming out this side. That should mean we get roots on both sides of the plant, and right in the middle of the plant is a 3rd new growth. So on this size plant we've now got 3 new growths. If they get up to the same size as the largest of the bulbs on the plant, in strength terms that's almost doubling the size of the plant. Whether we get blooms on these growths or you get some plants mature a growth and bloom on the previous one. But I don't think this happens like that. I've still got the moss to do. I will tease out some of that old moss when I do it, because that's old zombie moss with algae on it. It's not doing a lot of good. But some nice new live moss on there as the new roots start, which would be a good idea. So yeah, work to do on that one, but it's growing okay. 3 new growths I'm pleased with. 1 I was expecting, 2 would have been good, 3's brilliant. So all we've got to do now is push those growths on, and hopefully we will get some blooms down the line. So that's plant number 1. Okay, so as far as this one is concerned, what we were hoping for was for the new growths to push on and possibly bloom. Well, the new growths are pushing on, but they're not. I don't believe they're anywhere near mature enough to actually bloom yet. So we're still hoping on that front. Now I did add some moss on. A lot of these roots were aerial, and the plant wasn't hydrating as well as it should. So I've added some moss on the aerial roots above the plant and sort of down below as well. So it should hydrate better now. And as the new roots come out of these new growths, they'll have something to get into. So again, all I can hope from this is that the growths push on, the roots get going, and eventually we get some blooms, but we're obviously not there yet. Maybe coming soon, I don't know. We shall see. Well, having had most of the growing season now, we're into, well, very end of September, the last day of September in fact, only just. There's not much to say about this. All I can say is that the 3 new growths have matured. 2 of them very small bulbs, and 1 of them not bad but not as big as some of the others, and I still see no signs of blooming. So there's nothing much more to say about this. That new growth on the right hand side there, the bulb there is not too far off the size of the others on the plant, those that were on it when I got it basically. The one in the middle there is immature, it's not full size, and this one over this side is not full size. So it's not growing as well as it should. But then I've had a very strange growing season, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to put it down to the fact it's had a change of environment. The season started all wrong this year in this place, and we'll just have to hope for better things next time round. New growths will start on this eventually, and let's hope we can push them on harder next time round. But I mean, the plant is okay. It's not like going downhill and dying or anything daft like that. But it's not blooming. And certainly these 2 little growths around here, they're not going to bloom. That one might do, but I don't know when the spikes come out on this. You know, do they come out like some Oncidium types, the spike comes out before the bulbs mature, and others the spike comes out later. On some it comes out as the new growths grow on the previous bulb. Anyway, it's doing okay, it's sort of all right, but it's not progressing at any great rate. So that's that one. Okay, so plant as it is in now, in the middle of winter, the plant is basically dormant. It's doing nothing. The next thing that will happen will be some new growths, and somehow or other this plant has got to grow better than it has done. Some of the original bulbs that were on this plant when I got it are larger than most of what I've grown. This bulb out to the right is the largest one I've actually grown, and that's not far off the size of the others, but the other 2 new growths, one to the left there and one up the back, are very undersized. And I think what this plant is a true wet season, dry season plant. It certainly needs effectively a dry winter rest on the grounds that it comes from quite high up, so it's a cooler grower, and it comes from mainly deciduous oak forests, and that would mean it would be quite dry and bright in winter. So to all intents and purposes, this could be treated like a resting dendrobium, which seems odd for something in the Oncidium Alliance. But nonetheless, I've got to try and get this to grow better or it's never going to bloom. And what I think this needs, because of the drier winter rest, I don't need this on a mount. I need this in a pot with some nice fine bark, so that in the growing season I can drown it. It can be given plenty of water and keep it fully hydrated, which is difficult to do on a mount, as we know. And this is one that is not necessarily needing to dry out in between each watering, not in the growing season when it's actively growing. It needs to be bumped up, basically. So I think the plans for this will be, as soon as I see some new growths coming, I think we'll get it in a pot. And we'll see how it does then. I mean, it was in a pot when I got it. I put it on a mount on the grounds it was a small Oncidium type and I didn't want it to stay wet. But we will see how that does. Also, you have to bear in mind the moss is old. So I think the future of this plant rests in a different media and a different growing habit. I need this a lot wetter through the growing season, and I need it to be quite dry and bright in the winter time. And we'll see if it picks up. I mean, it's not going downhill. It's not failing, but it's not doing as well as it should. Well, we can carry on doing exactly the same thing, or like I say, if you do the same thing, you'll get the same result. So something needs to change, and I think it's the growing season. It needs pushing harder in the growing season to get some nice big fat bulbs, and then hopefully we'll get some blooms. So we'll work towards that for next year. So that's that one. So there we go then. That was orchid number 7, and bit of a strange one that. It doesn't sort of fit in with anything else. But nonetheless, it's a cool grower. In theory, it should be doing better now than it ever has done. Let's hope anyway. So I'll see you in the next one for orchid number 8. Bye for now.